Hi, good morning. My name is Laurel. I'm an investment advisor in Singapore. So today I'm just going to share with you how are you going to fund for all your birthdays, because today is a very special day to me, and yes, it's my birthday. And many people will ask me, how do you fund for all your birthday? How to make sure that you have enough? First, you really must start with a game plan. You need to know your numbers, know what exactly do you want, and then you can plan your way one by one to get there. So later on in an example, I'm going to show you how am I going to get to that numbers based on some of the numbers that are very realistic to me, and these are some of the numbers that I really work out for myself. I hope you have your coffee ready. I'm going to go down to crunch some numbers. And first thing I need to do is to make sure that I know how much do I need in my nest egg. So I'm going to assume that I'm going to live till the age of 99 because we never know when we will go, right? Hence, I don't want to outlive my resources, and I'll plan to age 99. Then I will need to work out from now till my retirement at age 55, how many years would that be? And that on the compounding calculator, it's called N. So N number of years is 18 years away. You can work out for your own numbers as well. So next up, I'm going to work out some of the numbers which is found in the compounding calculator. I put at age 55 because I know for ladies we do tend to have a little bit of glass ceiling, so I prepared till age 55 for just in case. So the next thing I'm going to prepare is this thing what we call present value, PV. For me, I wrote that PV of 3000 is something what I want. After I thinking about it, I struck it out and mentioned that it's something that I need for retirement. So 3000 today dollars, we know that it's not enough, or the same exact value is not the same exact value when we are in retirement. Hence, I'm going to count how much will that be in terms of inflation. So that's why we put I. I is equal to inflation or interest. So I will assume it to be 3%. So this is what I assume as my numbers. Some people will assume their own numbers depending on where you stay. The next thing I'm going to calculate is what we call future value, FV. Here I'm using a financial calculator, but you can always Google for an equivalent compounding calculator online on Google. But the thing you need to note is you have to work out N, PV, I, and FV. So these are some of the variables that you can play with. So I've worked out the number to be 5107.29 during my retirement age. So I'm going to calculate exactly how much exactly is the whole lump sum I'll need. 55 to age 99. So 99 minus 55 times 12 times $5,107.29 is what I'm writing in this equation. This will work out the numbers to be about $2,696,649.12. At this juncture, a lot of my clients would have told me, "Oh, Lara, this number is very big. Something that may not be very realistic, something that is so hard for me to stretch, given the fact that I have a lot of family to take care of, I have a lot of commitments at this juncture." So it really depends on what exactly you want. So you can go back and refine your numbers further in terms of your PV as well as the number of years that you have away from retirement. I've also put in place now some of the various areas that I can get this money from. First one will be paid out by CPF, second by investments, and lastly by the savings. This is how the page looks like while I prepare to back calculate how much do I need to save aside or set aside in order for me to reach my goals. I'm going to assume that I'm doing a back calculation for my own CPF monies as part of my calculations for the retirement. So for CPF, we need to have a minimum full sum. And assuming that if I have the minimum full sum, I'm just only going to assume that I'm getting $1,000 from there. But only at age 65 onwards, it will be paying out. So I'm also going to assume a few more things. I'm going to assume that 65 will be the age that it starts to pay out. Although in Singapore, there are rumors that the age of paying out may be increased all the way to 67, even 70 years old. So now I'm going to calculate from 55 years old to 65 years old, assuming I'm going to retire age 55. I have to self-supply this amount of money for myself. And after calculations, which is 1,000 times 12 months times 10 years, it will be a self-supply of $120,000. As I know many people use CPF OA for the payment of house, so there may be nothing much left during retirement. For the easy of this calculation, I'm just going to take into account of without CPF involved as calculations. So previously, I've also calculated the future value, that means the amount that I need to hit. It's about 2,696,649.12. Next is the calculations of the present value. That means assuming that I've already invested some money. So I'm going to just assume that this is $200,000 invested. Next will be the interest rates of the investments returns. I'm going to assume it to be 6%. Then next, I'm going to calculate PMT, which is payment. How much do I need to save monthly? So this is the amount that you need to have a very close eye on in order for you to understand how much would you like to actually save for yourself. And for me, this amount of money works out to be, as you can tell, I don't do really mental sums. So punching hard on my calculator, I will also need to put down another variable that's important. And that important variable will be n is number of the years, which I'll need to take to reach 55. And that n equals to 18. So the amount that I get from this number will be $8,810.46 per month that I will need to save. I have to really ask myself and wonder that is it really important, or is it very easy for me to hit it? And if I've determined, oh no, it seems to be a little bit hard for me to hit, so what I do here is that I cross out unrealistic goals and I write down that it's quite hard for me to hit it. So what do I do next? Next, I will determine what is it that I would like to do and how do I want to achieve it in a more realistic way. Hence, I took a fresh piece of paper and start to do these back calculations of mine. Remember previously I wrote that I will need $5,107.29 a month for the equivalent of $3,000 a month during my retirement age of 55. So I'm going to calculate in another way of how am I going to achieve this. I'm going to assume that the usual dividends I'll get from the investments portfolio will be about 4 to 5%. So maybe I'll assume 5% instead. Hence at 5%, if I want to have a returns of $5,107.29 a month, this amount will be equivalent to 61,287.48 cents in 1 year. So since I know that I need about 61,000 in a year, I'll need to calculate how much is the capital that I will need. With 61,000 being 5% of my whole year's returns, I can easily back calculate that this total amount that I will need is equivalent to 1,225,000 $749.60. Now the question is, how do I get there? While taking time to pondering how do I get there, I will need to back calculate based on the few variables I mentioned previously. The first one will be n equals to number of years, which is 18 years. I will be the interest, or the returns will be roughly 6%. And PV is present value. I will assume that already have $200,000 invested. And then FV will be this new number, capital needed, which is 1,225,749.60. And I will calculate my last thing to calculate will be my payment that I will need to set aside per month to hit this goal by age 55. This number works out to be $1,765.81 a month. I will ask myself, is this number doable? How am I going to achieve it? Is it realistic enough? And I will think about all sorts of ways how am I going to make it achievable. So here wise, I'm rating that it's doable. So this is the target that I'm going to target myself to towards my retirement goal, and review this number consistently. I hope you like this small little video of mine. Please like and subscribe. See you next time.